I'm Stephen Foskett, organizer of Tech Field Day and Gestalt IT, and we are here at Amazon AWS Reinvent 2019 in Las Vegas. As you know, we are catching up with many of the companies that we've talked to from on the Gestalt IT side as well as on the Tech Field Day side. And we would be remiss if not to speak with a company that is very, very familiar to our audience, and that is NetApp. But I will guarantee that you might not know some of the things that this guy's been working at NetApp. And if you don't, I think you'll be very positively impressed with what NetApp is doing with regard to the public cloud. So why don't you introduce yourself, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm Anthony Lai. Wonderful opportunity to talk today. I lead what's called the Cloud Data Services Business Unit at NetApp. It's a team of software engineers, close to 1,000 people now. And we build services that run on the public clouds, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. And we're running, workloads for thousands of customers now on the public cloud. So, the NetApp of old that sort of established itself in the data centers and provided customers with peace of mind can now provide customers with peace of mind on the public clouds.
Yeah, I think that's a surprising aspect, but I think that it's part of a broader transition that we're seeing in the industry. One of the big announcements from reInvent is the general availability of Outposts, and to me, Outposts is the loudest and most obvious sign that Amazon is not only serious about enterprise, but is pouring resources into it, and that enterprises are responding. Now, of course, they haven't probably got Outposts yet because it was just GA this week, but what it means, I think, is more important than what it is.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think for Amazon to come out with such a strong message of extending the cloud regions to be, in the enterprise organizations where latency is a problem, I think further reinforces this sort of notion of, a need for a data fabric. I mean, if you're running a production line, building and assembling cars, the equipment on the production line isn't going to make a web services call back to Amazon to tell it where to go. So Amazon, I think, has really proven now that they are 100% committed to the enterprise, and that Outposts, I think, demonstrates that Amazon is willing to, extend itself and participate in a whole new series of workloads that under its prior architecture just couldn't fulfill. So it's done a very good job, I think, of maintaining its absolute consistency in architecture. It's chosen to do the entire solution by itself. It's put very tight controls. The whole Outpost infrastructure is controlled from the cloud. And I think that will give, confidence, I think, to the IT organizations that it's not, Amazon isn't going back to the good old days of piecing things together yourself. Amazon has made a bold statement, and it will provide the entire rack, and it will provide all of the services to support that customer. So, yeah, I think it's just further evidence that these public clouds have, investment profiles unlike anything we've ever seen. It's just amazing.
Well, there's that. I mean, I definitely feel that that the Outpost should say to enterprise companies, look, the cloud is ready, and not ready as sort of an adjunct, or a lot of the hybrid cloud stuff has sort of been like, and the data center too. This is, your data center is now part of AWS.
Exactly right.
Full stop, we're done, It's official. And I think that really is going to open a lot of doors to the enterprise, and doors that maybe were not open previously because, enterprises were maybe a little concerned about, the regionality or the location of data. But further, what you're saying is that if you've got all these regions, if you've got data and applications in different places, maybe it's on, in your data center, maybe it's near the cloud, maybe it's in the cloud, maybe it's, in some other, region of the cloud. It behooves enterprises to have to be able to move that data around.
Exactly right.
And that really is where your business unit comes in.
I mean, that's exactly our business. You know, there was that great article in The Economist that said data is the new oil. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, in this world of, you know, hyper competition around digital transformation, the big companies don't want to be Ubered, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to have Uber come into them and disrupt an entire market. And so these big companies, what they've realized is the advantage they have is data, right? They've been in business for a long time. And what they've got to do now is really capitalize on their data. And so, you know, moving data, as you said, has always been the biggest problem because data has mass. It's not like compute. It's heavy. And so Amazon now gives us, NetApp, and our customers a wonderful opportunity to extend our own data fabric. We've been very fortunate that ONTAP, the operating system that runs NetApp storage, we ported it to Amazon 5-6 years ago. And we have thousands of customers who rely on ONTAP in Amazon data centers to manage their data. We are, and we were announced in the release, we have committed to support Outposts. So you'll be able to get industry standard ONTAP, the peace of mind you had in your data center on our engineered systems, combined with the peace of mind we've given you inside AWS, will now be available on Outposts.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. So just to be super, super clear, you have obviously ONTAP in the data center.
Yep.
You have had now for a time ONTAP native,
yep.
really native
yep.
in the cloud.
Yep.
And now you're going to have ONTAP in Outposts as well.
Absolutely right. We see no difference between an Outpost, you know, region and a regular AWS region. And that's the beauty of the architecture. I think Amazon is really, as you said, demonstrating to customers that Amazon can provide, you know, data centers in different locations and provide services. So for us, it's a very, very simple qualification for us. But I think the opportunity that it now opens for customers in those workloads that had maybe, you know, latency issues or maybe had governance issues, I think it's going to be a very, very substantial year for Outposts. And I think, you know, Amazon has set the bar in terms of, you know, cloud-based, hyper-converged infrastructure.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so, and of course, the other thing that I'm seeing here is another thing you mentioned earlier, which is just the sheer resources that Amazon is putting into the enterprise market.
Yep.
So setting aside Outposts for a moment, you know, AWS Reinvent has, you know, 5 times as many people at it as many of the enterprise IT shows.
Sure.
Amazon has been developing services after services after services and focusing on selling AWS to the enterprise. It really seems to me that any company that's not only just playing the game, but a player in that game, in the Amazon AWS game, is really going to be left behind.
I mean, you know, I've been a CEO of a couple of companies, and I can tell you, you know, CEOs now of companies in every industry have to be technical. Mm-hmm. This sort of digital world in which we live in affects every single company on the planet, whatever industry you're in. And if you just, you know, if you think about the amount of capital, the amount of investment that an Amazon has put into infrastructure, you know, there isn't a corporation that could compete with that. And so if you want to do anything that you believe is innovative, disruptive, I think you have to now look at the public cloud as your single platform. There's just too much. I don't think people are going to justify buying GPU racks when Amazon can rent them for you. So I think there is just too much innovation in a controlled environment that benefits so many organizations. And what I love about Amazon is Amazon, I think, democratized technology. If you think about it, technology was certainly, you know, in my lifetime, something only big companies could afford. And now all of a sudden, all of the innovation that Amazon brings to bear can, you know, be available for the Fortune 10 or the smallest companies in the world, they all have access to this wonderful technology now. And the investment and the rate at which Amazon pushes out services is staggering. I mean, at NetApp, I release capabilities every single day because it's a controlled environment, and it's an environment that's built for scale. So I just think software has a sort of just an advantage if it's engineered in these public clouds that frankly it just doesn't have on premise.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think a lot of people would think, oh, NetApp, oh, they're a hardware company.
Yeah.
But your part of NetApp absolutely is not.
Yeah, it's funny, NetApp, most people who would sort of date themselves, NetApp stands for Network Appliance.
Yes.
And really what was interesting is the company was founded on storage on commodity hardware. We never built proprietary hardware. We never built the disks. We don't manufacture silicon. At the time when NetApp came out, everybody else had gone proprietary. Storage was a proprietary thing. So actually, NetApp's intellectual property has always been software. Yes, it manifested itself on racks that go into data centers, but the beauty of NetApp has always been, ONTAP has been a software platform. So when we ported it to Amazon, we just see the Amazon media in exactly the same way as we would see the media in a data center. And the beauty is I think we lent into the cloud well in advance of anybody else, and we gave customers confidence. A confidence that if people wanted to move from on-premise into the cloud, NetApp wouldn't stop that. In fact, we would encourage it. And I think we've demonstrated with Amazon and the other cloud companies an absolute commitment to make ONTAP the best it can be in the public cloud. And I don't think that's true of other IT companies.
Well, I think a lot of them are maybe they've been reluctant to support this. I think one thing that people might wonder though is in the Apple space we talk about companies being Sherlocked. Well, that's a big problem with Amazon as well. I mean, they're constantly introducing new services that compete with services running from third-party companies.
Yeah.
But in the storage industry, if there's one thing that I've learned over the years of being a storage whatever I am pundit, it's that storage is actually surprisingly hard to do. And it's hard to do really well, and it's hard to have advanced storage services that are really good. And it seems surprising to me, but there are very few storage-related announcements from Amazon at reInvent this year. Do you think that NetApp is in a position not to be Sherlocked by Amazon?
I do. I really do. I think that we have over 5+ years demonstrated to Amazon excellence. And I think, as you said, I think Amazon has to compete on so many fronts. And for us, I think we've given it a service that enterprise customers have confidence in. And I think Amazon likes that. And I think they're comfortable that we can provide a service to their customers, and I think they can focus on other things. So, we really lent in, and I think if you ever speak to, Bill Voss or any of the other executives at Amazon, they would tell you that they never doubted that NetApp would, really, really commit to provide a first-class service on AWS. And of course, we innovate. We've demonstrated to Amazon that, we will continue to release new capabilities and new enhancements at cloud speed. And I think in many respects that also demonstrates to Amazon that we know what we're doing, and we're in it to win it. And I think Amazon is the benefactor of that innovation. And so, it's been interesting to watch our position with Amazon really mature. We really get on well with Amazon. We're in a lot of joint development projects. We're a very, I think, significant partner for them. We get along very, very well with them, and we're intimate with a lot of their roadmap items and upcoming, releases well in advance of, public consumption.
So, and it is, I think, also important to note that for customers, for the enterprises that are looking at moving workloads to the cloud, whether it's an Outpost or or the one of the Amazon regions that exist, or maybe another cloud provider, it is absolutely imperative to not just have a path to move data from here to there, but a bi-directional highway that allows data to be the same, whether it is in the data center and conventional infrastructure or in the cloud. And that is a differentiator for NetApp that maybe some of these other providers or services don't really have.
I mean, the obvious one, of course, is you look at SAP, right? I mean, SAP is, one of the biggest application companies in the world, and large enterprises are dependent on SAP to run their business. And people want to run SAP in the cloud, but what they don't want to do is take a chance on, the backbone of the corporation. And so we have been at NetApp the reference architecture for SAP on premise for 15 plus years. So now that same architecture that SAP loves on premise is now in Amazon. It's in Google, it's in Azure. And that's given SAP the confidence to tell its customers that they've certified SAP HANA on NetApp in the public clouds. So we give Amazon not just, I think, a platform for cloud natives and new application development, but we give Amazon and its customers that sort of confidence in that catalog of existing enterprise applications. And that's a big thing for these public cloud companies. The customers, have a legacy, and they have to be very careful not to break what's running their core business ideas, but they want to still recognize the value of that workload on the public cloud, and that's what we've been able to give them. And it's been amazing to watch, NetApp transform, to be part of that transformation. We really are, I think, very much now, I think, as a company, cloud first. We release more aggressively on the public clouds, and we are able to give our customers innovations on the public clouds sometimes that aren't available on premise.
So I'd say that, if it was up to me to summarize it, I would say that my feeling of what's happening here, it really is all about confidence, which I think is the word that you just used to describe it as well. It's about confidence for enterprise IT companies to use the public cloud, and that, yes, there are technical capabilities, and there's pricing and where things fall, and there's but overall, if a company is going to move to the public cloud, they need confidence that what they're doing is going to work, that it's going to be reliable, that it's going to be a good choice.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. Every company in the world wants to be digital. So every CEO basically says, who are the most successful digital companies? And you say, okay, biggest market cap in the world, Microsoft. Second biggest market cap in the world, Amazon. Third biggest market cap in the world, Google. You're like, oh, those guys are at the forefront of digital transformation, and look at the returns that it's provided for shareholders. I should talk to them. So every CEO is basically saying, okay, I've got to be digital, I've got to be digital. Who are the successful companies? Let me go and talk to them. And so I think Amazon has this wonderful opportunity to sort of educate the industry on itself, and the interpretation of itself is Amazon Web Services. And so you can sort of see that what Amazon, I think, did incredibly well was it retailed compute. I mean, if you think about it, Amazon is an online retailer, and all it did was put compute online and retail it. And I think that transformed an industry that was, since the dawn of time, based on a lot of heterogeneity and a lot of complexity in piecing all of that stuff together. So I think you're absolutely right. Confidence, I think, is probably the single biggest takeaway I get from this event. Just the companies that are here, the leadership is starting to attend at C-level now. When you and I probably came to the first one, it was like a bunch of hoodies, right? It was just the software engineers.
And that's not what we're seeing
And that's
here.
not what we're seeing now. We're seeing a lot of senior executives come to these sessions now because digital transformation is job one, I always say, if you're not transforming yourself, somebody else is transforming against you.
Yeah.
And so everybody has this now. Everybody has this wonderful and scary, change management process in front of them, and Amazon is a confident choice.
That's absolutely, and I feel like that really is the takeaway from reInvent. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been great catching up with you, Anthony. I always look forward to getting a chance to speak with you at events like this. If you've enjoyed this conversation and you want to learn more, I recommend checking out Tech Field Day on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/techfieldday and search for NetApp. You can find more videos there that dive deeper into the specifics of the NetApp product. You can also search for Gestalt IT videos on YouTube and find more conversations like this from AWS reInvent this week. And where can we find more about NetApp's offerings that you lead?
Yeah, very, very easy. Everything we do is available. We offer everybody free trials of our services. They can be purchased on just a pay-as-you-go consumption model or subscription. It's very simple. It's just cloud.netapp.com. Everything you'll find there, and a lot of user stories, benchmarks, a lot of content, I think, that helps the customer understand what we do and what value we provide to them.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us.